Hello, Flosstube. It's Beth, and I can't remember what Flosstube I'm on, but I guess that really doesn't matter because we are still working on Inchies and Kathy Rees's design. And so here we are starting the fifth square, and you're going to need a silk lame and a splendor according to your pattern. And the stitch we're doing is the slanted goblin stitch, and then there's going to be a little tent stitch. Hopefully we can, I'm going to try to do a row of each to show you how I start and stop. Someone commented on, is this the thread? It might be. I don't remember this. Who knows what thread this is? See, I didn't put it away. But it looks like watercolors. Anyway, someone asked about the, I think it was the vineyard silk. It twists when you, it untwists, so it gets fuzzy. So you really do need to use very short lengths. And if it untwists, I take my needle and I twist it so it twists back up a little bit, because I tend to untwist my threads. So I just kind of give it a quick little twist. I know Nicola talked about it on one of hers. If you go to Hands Across the Sea samplers, Nicola Parkman discussed it on hers. Now, the Splendor, I love Splendor. It's one of my favorite silks. It is a 12 ply. Can you see my cat? Cat down. I'm sorry about that. He hears me speaking and he thinks I'm talking to him, which I'm not. Make sure you turn your pattern upside down. I almost forgot to do that. The first stitch is the goblin. We're going to use, so our stretcher bars are 14 inches. I probably use a little less than that. But if you cut it to 14, you're probably going to be good. Again, they're little bundles, and you're going to need 4 plies. And then you, of course, bundle them up. Now, maybe you have heard to come up at a clean hole and go down in a dirty hole. As we stitch this, I'm going to have to discuss that with you, because on this, unless you're starting and stopping each row, which I think is a waste of thread, and I would not do, you are going to have to come up at some point in a dirty hole, and I'll discuss that as we go. Okay, so the goblin stitch, we know so we have 2 blanks, and we know it's about 1 inch long, so we're going to go over here and end. And so we're going to do an away waist knot again. And I always have to think about this. I will give you the page number for the needlepoint book. I'm having a hard time with the cat. No, it goes this way. No, it doesn't. So you want to make the stitches on the back as long as possible. So you start 2 threads over, 1, 2, and then this is your first stitch. Again, Splendor needs to be laid. So you need your laying tool, and I stroke it, and I hold it, and I pull it down. Come up in the next hole, I stroke it, I put it down. And I'm going to fast forward this so you will not be totally bored. And this one is over 2. All right, I'm kind of playing with that a little bit. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now obviously this thread is a little short. Now you're going to have to make the one last little compensation stitch to make your square. And then before we go any further, and you have a little one there. So I think I start there, but nope. I got it. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think I start there. Let's make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to come up here. And that's where my next slanted goblin will come. So let's make sure we counted right though. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No. All right. Now this is the silk lame braid, which I do love, and it's a lovely color. And for this one, now I started over here and I worked my way across, but to keep my so the back is neat, I'm going to go the opposite direction so I can come up in a clean hole and go down in a dirty. Now, so there is my start, and this is just the 10th stitch, and it does, this one will unwind, so I'm going to kind of give it a, oops, see, I was untwisting it, so I'm kind of keeping it twisted, and I'm not laying it. I think it should be okay. And again, you just here it is at the end. And I know the next slanted is wider. It's 3. 1, 2, 3. And this is what I mean. You're going to get the 10th stitch going so it's full on the back, you're going to have to come up here. So, let's see, I'm going to cut my knot out because it's, well, I hope I didn't trim my thread. Okay, cut my knot out. I am going to run out of thread. So, hopefully I'll make a note. Maybe you could use a longer thread if you want. But now you're going to go back. And it's all twisted. And I don't like it when it twists. So I'm rethreading my needle. Just going to go across. Now my thread, oops, is getting really short. So I'm going to do this last stitch, and then I'm just going to come up, and I'm going to start a new thread. Now, two things I want to say. If I was doing this and I wasn't filming it, I would weave my thread. I would flip my canvas over and weave from over here and pull it through, even though that might disturb the threads a little bit. The other thing we can do, because you want to make sure, if you start in the middle here, it will, if you just start stitching, it's going to look funny. So I'm going to do my away waist knot. So we came up in this hole and down here, correct? So your angle in the back should be going diagonally across this way. If you just pull your thread and start up here, you're going to have a gap in your satin stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my threads over, and I'm going to come up and go down, just up and down, or not horizontally, vertically. Horizontal's the other way. I give my thread a little tug on the other my away where I ended it. Now this is silk, and I probably should have done a pin stitch to start these, but I don't have much problem with the Splendor coming out. A Verissois I do, but Splendor has no problem. So I'm just going to come up where I was before, and it should. Okay. This is where you're going to hate me because you got all these threads going there. So see how that, it doesn't look like there's a gap. So if you're doing satin stitch and you had to start and stop a thread, part of your issue, if it looks like there's a space between your threads, is going to be the direction you restart your new thread. Yeah, these are in my way. It would have been smarter if I'd done a pin stitch, so that way the threads would not be in my way, because obviously I am throwing them in my way. But I'm going to keep going because, you know, heaven forbid I take something out. Okay, now I'm pulling this really tight so I can see that hole. And I'm going to come up around it. Making sure I'm coming down in the right spot. I've done enough stitching that I know I can cut these out. They're out of my way. And yes, I just caught the stitch next to it, the neon rays. All right. I think it'll be okay. So, I'm going to do a tent stitch here in this row. And we've got to start a new one. So, I'm just going to, so my thread's not so much in my way, I'm just going to skip a place and then put it down. So, to keep the thread on the back looking good, I'm going to do, I came up in this is a dirty, considered a dirty hole, and go down in this clean hole. Normally you don't like to do that. You normally like to come up in a clean hole and go down in a dirty one, if you've heard that. But on this one, if you don't do it this way, you will have half cross or something on the back, and you want to get as full of coverage as you can. Now, if you're having problems where you're disturbing your threads that you just laid, go ahead and go the other direction, or end your thread and start from here and go across. Now, this is fairly straightforward, I believe, the rest. Just, you know, make sure you watch how much, with the size of the blocks for the counted goblin, and, I mean for the counted goblin, gads, Beth, for the slanted goblin, and as you can see, my thread is untwisting. This, it is a beautiful, I love silk lame, but it does have twist issues. So, okay, so see how it's, I don't know, can you see how it's kind of fraying, kind of coming undone? I just kind of twirl my needle a little bit and get that twist back in there, because I tend to untwist my thread as I stitch. It's just something I've noticed. I do it on a lot of things. All right, I'm going to get to the end of this row, and then we're going to, and I am going to keep doing these as separate little videos. I think it's easier for you all to watch. So we have 1, 2, 3. This is my 4th. All right. So again, I don't know if any of you watch, or not watch, read Mary Corbett's newsletter, but she has some sort of tool where she burnishes her satin stitches to make them lay flat. Now, I think one of the reasons I stopped using my Takabari so much was that it does have that sharp point, and in this little area, I'm hitting the neon rays next to it, so I just need to be a little bit more careful. I'm going to continue stitching this, and then I will see you in the next video.